One day, Glyn puffed out of his shed, ready to start the day at Ulstead Castle. From the doors of his shed he could see a large red narrow-gauge engine. "Hello, my name is Glyn, and who are you?" "The name's Stanley, buddy," replied the engine bluntly. "No need to be rude, I was only introducing myself." At that time, Sir Robert Norby had arrived, and he had heard everything. "Don't be rude, Stanley. You don't want to be turned into a pumping generator again now, do you?" No, sir." "What? You're the Stanley? I thought you'd been scrapped."
"Would it be rude to tell him about how I was discovered, sir?"
"Not at all. Couple in, Glyn, and take it away, Stanley."
"It all started many years ago when I worked on the old Mid-Sodor Railway. When I was a young engine on the Mid-Sodor, I wasn't gauged properly to run on the tracks there compared to my old railroad back in the States. I derail often and not have a care in the world about having a few spills. Listen, Dookie, back in the States we don't care a dime for a few spills."
"We do here."
But the manager wasn't happy with me at all in the end, and then I was turned to a pumping engine. At first I was behind the shed where Dookie and his pals lived, and then I was moved to a mine at Casnahowan to pump water. I hated it all when I was working there, and then it all came to a tragic end. I was still pumping water, but I broke down, and I didn't bother to tell anyone. I was, however, very foolish to do that. I then shut my eyes after all of that, but later, as soon as I woke up, the manager of the mine came to see me. "Oh, what happened?"
"I'll tell you what happened. You broke it down, and the mine is now flooded. We have to close down now, thanks to you." "Oh. So that's your reaction, then? There were men down in those mines, you know, and only some survived."
"Well, it can't be all my fault. I was left rusting away."
"Ugh, you're still that same rude little engine that came to this island. I have no time for you anymore with all your excuses. Goodbye, Stanley. I hope the men who lost their lives will visit you someday."
I never saw him again, and I didn't care about him or his little warning after that. For years I was left abandoned from the hot, stinking summer to the freezing cold winters with no one for company. Until one night...
"Stanley."
"What the? Who's that?"
"Stanley."
"Oh, it's just a miner. What do you want?"
Why didn't you tell anyone about your breakdown?"
"Why would anyone care to know?"
"We used to be real beings. We had families, we had friends, and we had lives to live, and you took that all away from us."
"I'm going to sleep. This is all just a silly little dream that I'm..."
"You were once like that. You had a life working on the railway. You once had friends back in the States, and all of that was taken away because of your arrogance, and you were condemned to live out your days as nothing but a pumping engine. You are pathetic." At first I didn't believe what I had seen, but those words really began to hit me hard as if I had collided with another engine. Soon I began to think. However, all things worked out in the end, eh, Stanley?
Yeah, it has a happy ending like every fairy tale.
But perhaps I will tell the rest of the story, Stanley. While Stanley was still up at an abandoned mine, I came to see Duke at the Scarlet Railway. He was all ready for work. He was going to run trains to my castle on the new extension that I had long been planning specifically with Duke in mind, and I wanted him to be in good running order. Duke had been telling me about the old Mid-Sodor, and the conversation just so happened to come around to Stanley. And that's how he was turned into a pumping generator. My word! Do you know what happened after that? From what I've heard, he was the pumping generator for the last remaining mine that gave the only justification for keeping the line opened. But it all ended tragically. Oh my! Do you think he could still be around, Duke? I haven't the foggiest. Although I don't recall anyone having bought him since. I think he could have just sadly been forgotten. That story got me interested now in finding him. Him, sir? But why? Well, since you're going to be part of my fleet, I think he would do for a great museum piece to talk about you and your cohort's time in the Mid-Sodor. But, sir, Stanley isn't a proper engine. I think he would be rude to our visitors. I understand the trouble that Stanley caused for your railway, but times have changed, and who knows, he might have changed his attitude since then. I'll start getting a team together, and we'll start exploring tomorrow. Right! To adventure! I don't think we'll find him today, Sir Robert. It's getting late. I suppose you're right. Once we find a good spot, we'll set up camp. Right, this will do.
I'm sorry, miners. I'm really sorry.
Wait, do you hear that?
I was a poor, oafish fool who didn't know any better. Please don't haunt me again. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
It sounds like someone is grieving.
Please, 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 I'm begging for your forgiveness. I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's him! Ah!
Who are you? Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Sir Robert Norby. I'm the Earl of Sodor, and this is my exploration crew. We were actually looking for you.
Why?
Duke was telling me all about you, and I thought you would be great as a display piece at my castle. So Dukey still remembers me?
But doesn't he still work on the Mid-Sodor?
That's been closed down 26 years. Duke was abandoned when we found him in an old shed, and Stuart and Falcon are now called Peter, Sam and Sir Handel, and now they all work on the Scarlet Railway. The railway closing down was news to me. I was very surprised by it all, especially hearing about the fate of Dukey, Stewie, and Falcon.
When I was at the castle, I realized that I was given a second chance. The miners who had come to remind me of my sins all those years since that tragic accident never haunted me again. I had learned my lesson and began to be a better engine. Years after I had become a display piece, the Earl restored me back into steam, and I was helping Dukey with these passenger services. Ever since when some passenger cars were found that I had used to haul back on the Mid-Sodor. Dookie was very surprised to see me after I was found, as well as Stewie and Falcon. It took time for them to forgive me, but I'm thankful that they did eventually.
Indeed, replied Duke.